Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now you may have read the title, started watching the video and thought, hey, for a dual core CPU this isn't bad, but look closer. This initial gameplay has been captured from my Intel Core i3-12300 system, which features 4 cores and 8 threads, and I thought I'd start with this in the interest of context. When paired with an RTX 4060, Battlefield 6 runs quite well on this modern quad core. There are moments where we see 100% utilization for the i3, and drops to 80% usage for the graphics card, indicating a CPU bottleneck, but overall the experience is okay, even during the most intensive scenes. But let's switch to this little beast, the Pentium G7400. This has just 2 cores and 4 threads. It's probably one of, if not the fastest 2-core CPU that money can buy, not that this makes it worthwhile. That said, I've been impressed with Battlefield 6's optimization so far. We've run it on a 4GB GPU and a GPU that costs less than the game itself, but we haven't really focused much on the CPU side of things, and when it comes to intense online action with other players across various maps, things can get rather CPU intensive. Playing Battlefield 6 felt really weird on this processor. The game started up just fine with no errors or warnings, and I was pretty hopeful after a brief session in the firing range. Of course there isn't much going on, and this area is in no way representative of the overall experience. Jumping into another game of Conquest and things started rough, and well, continued rough. According to the overlay, we are getting over 40 FPS, but it doesn't really feel like it. To me, 40 FPS feels playable. It's a pleasant compromise that I've become quite accustomed to, thanks to the Steam Deck, where 60 is out of the question in some games, and 30 doesn't feel smooth enough. 40 is a nice place to be. The frame rate counter told me I was getting about 40 FPS, but it felt like I was playing in slow motion here because of the inconsistencies with the frame times. It was quite juddery and it felt like I was controlling a character on an ice rink. In fact, this may not even be frame time related. I'd expect judders, but not this overall sense of slow motion. I'd release W to stop moving, but it wouldn't register for a second. The same thing happened when sprinting. This made it quite difficult to get through doors, broken windows or small spaces. I'd end up overshooting quite a bit and then getting stuck behind an open door or hitting the key to open the door, and then because I've impatiently pressed the button twice, I've opened and closed the door and then got stuck behind it again. Yeah, not ideal. Something that should be so simple became quite challenging, yet somehow I was actually playing better now with this all over the place frame rate than I was before. I actually managed to wipe out a few enemy players despite stuttering and juddering all over the map, and sliding about, of course. The seemingly slow motion experience seemed quite helpful. I then capped the game externally to 30 FPS using RivaTuner, as I thought this may make things feel a little more consistent. Instead of constant ups and downs, I was hoping that we may at least benefit from smoother frame times, but this didn't really help much. The frame time graph looks smoother, and therefore you'd think that would be reflected in the performance, but things still felt a little slow. Sure, the judders were gone, but things still felt slower than they should. Now, I'm not complaining, really. I can't. I mean, I'm surprised we got this far with just 2 cores. The hyper-threading helps for sure. If we were using the Celeron G6900, then it would be a different story entirely. I'd probably still be waiting for the game to get past the shader compilation, if it launched at all. Finally, we'll take a quick look at 1440p gameplay, which I'd probably avoid with an RTX 4060 anyway, but I thought that giving the GPU more of a workload may lessen the burden on the processor and potentially help us out. Wishful thinking, to be honest. The FPS cap was disabled here, like it was at the start, but this was probably the worst experience of the day overall, if I'm being honest. I'd stick to 1080p for what that's worth. Battlefield 6 will run on a 2-core CPU, at least a fairly modern one with 4 threads, but it won't really be enjoyable. It didn't stop me from wiping out enemy players, so that's something, I guess, but I don't think many people would be happy playing like this. Now, this was probably the result most of you expected, or maybe it was better than some of you expected, myself included, despite the flaws. But let me know what you think down below. As always, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.